The poor little girl stepped onto the stage, not knowing the millionaire judge was her father who abandoned her as a baby. When she sang that special song, his heart stopped. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The rain fell steadily on the cracked sidewalk of downtown Nashville, each drop echoing like a drum beat against the cardboard box that 7-year-old Madison Rivers used as her makeshift stage. Her small voice rose above the sound of rushing cars and hurried footsteps, pure and haunting as it drifted through the grey afternoon air. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine," she sang, her tiny hands clutching a battered acoustic guitar nearly as big as herself. The instrument had belonged to her mother once, back when Sarah Rivers still had dreams of her own. Passers-by dropped coins into the worn baseball cap at Madison's feet, some out of pity, others genuinely moved by the raw talent emanating from such a small frame. But Madison didn't sing for their sympathy. Every note, every carefully chosen word, was sung for one reason: the stack of medical bills growing thicker each day on their kitchen table. "Please don't take my sunshine away," she continued, her voice cracking slightly as exhaustion crept in. She'd been here since dawn, and the autumn chill was seeping through her thin jacket. But she couldn't stop. Not when Mama needed her medicine. Not when the doctors kept using words like urgent and immediate treatment required. A well-dressed woman stopped, tears streaming down her cheeks as she listened. "Honey, how old are you?" she asked gently, placing a $20 bill in the cap. "7, Mom," Madison replied, offering a smile that seemed too wise for her years. "My mama's real sick and the doctors say she needs an operation. I'm gonna sing until I have enough money to make her better." The woman's heart shattered. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Madison Rivers, and I'm gonna be famous someday, so I can take care of Mama forever." Her words carried a determination that made the woman believe every syllable. That's when Madison noticed the colorful flyer the woman had dropped. "America's Got Dreams, open auditions next week." The biggest talent show in the country, with a grand prize of $1 million. As the woman walked away, Madison picked up the soggy paper, her eyes widening. $1 million. That was more money than she could ever earn singing on street corners. That was enough to save Mama. That evening, in their cramped one-bedroom apartment, Madison found her mother collapsed on the bathroom floor, pale and trembling. "Mama!" she cried, helping Sarah back to bed with strength that shouldn't exist in such small arms. "I'm okay, baby girl," Sarah whispered, though they both knew it was a lie. The cancer was winning and they were running out of time. Madison clutched the talent show flyer against her chest. "Mama, I'm gonna audition for this show, and I'm gonna win. Then you'll get the best doctors in the whole world." Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she looked at her daughter, this brave little girl who carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. "Madison, honey, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do," Madison interrupted, her jaw set with fierce determination. "You always told me that music can heal anything. Now I'm going to prove it." That night, as Sarah slept fitfully beside her, Madison stared at the ceiling and made a promise. She would get on that stage. She would sing with everything in her heart. And somehow, some way, she would save the only person who had ever truly loved her. What she didn't know was that in a mansion across town, a man named Michael Sterling, judge, producer, and millionaire, was having the same recurring nightmare he'd had for 7 years. A nightmare about a song, a promise broken, and a choice that haunted him every single day. Tomorrow would change everything. Madison spent the next 3 days practicing in their tiny apartment, her voice growing stronger despite the chaos surrounding her. Sarah's condition worsened daily, and the medical bills kept piling up like autumn leaves, threatening to bury them alive. "Sing it again, baby," Sarah encouraged from the couch, wrapped in every blanket they owned. Her face was gaunt, her cheekbones sharp against pale skin, but her eyes still sparkled when Madison performed. The cancer was stealing her strength, but it couldn't touch her love for her daughter. Madison strummed the guitar carefully, her small fingers finding the chords her mother had taught her years ago. The instrument was older than Madison herself, its wood worn smooth by countless hours of practice and performance. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are grey. The song held special meaning. It was the first lullaby Sarah had sung to Madison as a baby, passed down from her own mother. What neither of them knew was that the same melody had once filled a different home, sung by a different voice to the same precious child. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Sarah whispered, coughing violently into a tissue that came away spotted with blood. She tried to hide it, but Madison's sharp eyes caught everything. "Mama, you're getting worse," Madison said, setting down the guitar and rushing to her mother's side. "I'm okay, baby girl. Just a bad day." Sarah forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Tell me about your song choice. Why You Are My Sunshine?" Madison curled up beside her mother, careful not to jostle her too much. "Because it's true, Mama. You are my sunshine. When Daddy left us, you could have been sad forever, but you made everything bright instead. You taught me that music can chase away the darkness." Sarah's heart clenched. Madison barely remembered her father. She'd been just 6 months old when Michael Sterling walked out of their lives. Sarah had worked hard to shield her daughter from the pain of that abandonment, never speaking ill of the man who'd chosen his career over his family. "Your daddy. He loved you, Madison. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes they can't fix." "Then he was stupid," Madison declared with 7-year-old certainty. "Because you're the best thing in the whole world, and anyone who leaves you is just dumb." The morning of the audition, Madison counted their remaining money with the seriousness of an accountant. $43.16. She'd organized the bills by denomination, smoothing out every wrinkled dollar. Enough for bus fare to the audition center, but not enough for Sarah's next chemotherapy treatment. "You sure you want to do this, sweetheart?" Sarah asked, coughing violently. The sound was getting worse, more persistent. "It's a big city, and those judges can be mean on TV." Madison nodded firmly, shouldering the guitar case that was almost as big as she was. "I have to, Mama. Dr. Patterson said you need that surgery soon, or—" She couldn't finish the sentence. The word die was too big, too final for her small vocabulary. As they prepared to leave their cramped apartment, their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, knocked on the door. She'd been watching Sarah deteriorate through their thin walls, hearing the coughing fits that lasted through the night. "I heard about the audition," she said, pressing a worn $20 bill into Madison's palm. The money was warm from being clutched in her arthritic hands. "For luck, little songbird." Madison hugged the old woman tightly, breathing in her comforting scent of jasmine tea and kindness. "I'll pay you back when I win. I promise." "When you win," Mrs. Chen repeated, believing every word. She'd heard Madison practicing, had witnessed the raw talent that poured from their apartment like liquid gold. The audition center buzzed with hundreds of hopefuls, each carrying their own dreams and desperation. The building was massive, modern, with glass walls that reflected the cloudy Nashville sky. Madison felt impossibly small among the adult contestants, many with professional equipment, makeup artists, and entourages of family members offering support. She clutched Sarah's hand tighter as they navigated through the crowd. Her mother had insisted on coming despite her weakness, leaning heavily on Madison's small shoulder for support. "Contestant 247, a harried production assistant called out, clipboard in hand and headset crackling with instructions. Madison looked at her paper wristband, 247. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a caged bird as she walked toward the holding area, guitar case dragging behind her on its worn wheels. "You've got this, baby," Sarah whispered, kneeling down to Madison's level despite the pain it caused. Remember what we practiced. Sing from your heart, not just your throat. What if they don't like me? Madison asked, her confidence wavering now that the moment was real. Then they're deaf, Sarah said firmly. You have a gift, Madison. A gift that comes from something bigger than just talent. You sing with your soul. In the judging room, 3 figures sat behind an imposing curved table that looked like it belonged in a courtroom. Madison recognized them from television. Jessica Walsh, the pop star known for her sharp critiques but hidden soft heart. Robert Martinez, the veteran music producer who discovered some of the biggest names in country music. And Michael Sterling, the youngest and wealthiest of the 3, whose business empire extended far beyond entertainment. Michael Sterling adjusted his expensive Rolex, checking the time. He'd been judging for 6 hours straight, and most acts blurred together in a monotonous parade of mediocrity and desperation. But something felt different about this next audition. A strange unease he couldn't explain, like the air before a thunderstorm. "What's the next act?" he asked the producer, rubbing his temples where a headache was building. 7-year-old girl, Madison Rivers, says she's singing to pay for her mother's medical treatment. Michael's expression softened slightly. He'd heard similar stories before. The show attracted people at their lowest points, grasping for miracle solutions. But children always affected him differently. Deep in his chest, something stirred, a familiar ache he'd learned to ignore over the years. The production assistant led Madison through the heavy doors. The auditorium felt enormous, the lights blindingly bright against her small frame. She squinted, trying to see the judges clearly through the glare. "Hello there," Jessica said warmly, immediately charmed by the tiny figure center stage. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Madison Rivers," she replied, her voice stronger than her knees felt. She planted her feet firmly, remembering Sarah's advice about stage presence. "And why are you here today, Madison?" Robert asked, leaning forward with genuine interest. Madison took a deep breath, channeling her mother's strength. "My mama has cancer. She needs an operation that costs more money than we'll ever have. I sing on the street corners every day after school, but it's not enough. If I win this, I can save her life." The 3 judges exchanged glances, each one hit by the raw honesty in her words. They'd heard heartbreaking stories before, but something about this little girl's matter-of-fact determination hit differently. Michael leaned forward, studying her face with growing unease. Something about her features nagged at him. The shape of her green eyes, the way she tilted her head when concentrating, the stubborn set of her jaw. "What are you going to sing for us?" he asked, his voice gentler than usual. Madison gripped her guitar tighter, her knuckles white against the worn neck. "A song my mama taught me. It's about sunshine and hope and never giving up on the people you love." Madison positioned herself center stage, her guitar looking comically large in her small arms. The auditorium fell silent, except for the hum of camera equipment and the distant murmur of crew members. She could feel hundreds of eyes on her, cameras, judges, production staff, all waiting to see if this small girl could deliver on her big promises. She closed her eyes, thinking of her mother's pale face that morning, the worry in her eyes masked by forced smiles and encouraging words. When Madison opened her eyes again, they blazed with determination that seemed to burn from somewhere deeper than childhood should reach. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine," she began. The first note cut through the air like silk, pure and haunting. Madison's voice carried a depth of emotion that shouldn't exist in someone so young. Pain, hope, love and desperation all woven together in perfect harmony. The guitar seemed to play itself in her small hands, each chord ringing clear and true. "You make me happy when skies are grey." In the judges' seats, Michael Sterling's world tilted on its axis. The voice, the song, the way she closed her eyes when she reached the high notes, just like. His hands began to tremble as memories crashed over him like a tsunami, washing away 7 years of carefully constructed denial. 7 years ago, a different life. A woman named Elena, dark-haired and beautiful, singing this same song to their baby girl in a nursery painted sunshine yellow. The same guitar, worn and loved, passed down through generations. The same melody that had filled their home before everything fell apart, before his ambition became more important than love. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Michael's breath caught in his throat. The little girl on stage had Eleanor's eyes, his own stubborn chin, his mother's delicate nose. The timeline matched perfectly. 7 years since he'd walked away from his family, choosing the promise of business success over the chaos of new fatherhood. "Please don't take my sunshine away." As Madison sang the final note, letting it hang in the air like a prayer, the auditorium erupted in thunderous applause. Jessica wiped tears from her eyes with no shame. Robert nodded in approval, his professional composure cracking. But Michael Sterling sat frozen, his world crumbling and rebuilding simultaneously. Madison looked directly at him during the applause, and for one heart-stopping moment, he saw Elena's face reflected in their daughter's features. The same smile, the same tilt of the head, the same unconscious grace. Their daughter, the baby he'd abandoned. The child he'd convinced himself was better off without him. "That was absolutely beautiful," Jessica said, her voice thick with emotion. "You have something special, honey. Something that can't be taught." "Incredible talent," Robert agreed, still shaking his head in amazement. "You have a gift, young lady, a real gift." All eyes turned to Michael. Madison waited, her heart in her throat, everything depending on this moment. The silence stretched until it became uncomfortable. Michael opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. "How do you tell a child you abandoned that she's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? How do you explain 7 years of absence in front of rolling cameras and millions of viewers?" He started, then stopped. "That song, where did you learn it?" Madison smiled hopefully, encouraged by his interest. "It's my favorite. My mama says her mama used to sing it to her, and she sang it to me when I was little. She says music can heal anything, even broken hearts." The irony cut deep, like a blade between his ribs. Their daughter was trying to heal her mother, while unknowingly healing the father who had broken them both. "We need to take a 5-minute break," Michael announced suddenly. Standing so abruptly, his chair scraped against the floor with a harsh screech that made everyone jump. Jessica and Robert exchanged concerned glances as Michael strode off stage without explanation, leaving Madison standing there confused and heartbroken. The little girl's face crumpled slightly. Had she done something wrong? "Don't worry, sweetheart," Jessica called out. "Sometimes judges need a moment to process something really special." In the hallway, Michael's assistant found him leaning against the wall, head in his hands, his expensive suit wrinkled from the trembling that had overtaken his body. "Sir, are you all right? Should I call a doctor?" "Get me everything on Madison Rivers," Michael whispered, his voice hoarse. "Background, family, medical records, everything. I don't care what it costs or who you have to call." "Sir, I don't understand. Just do it, now." 20 minutes later, Michael stared at the file that confirmed his worst fears and greatest hopes. Madison Rivers, born 7 years and 3 months ago to Elena Rivers, formerly Elena Sterling. Medical records showing Eleanor's current battle with stage 3 cancer, diagnosed 18 months ago. Financial records showing their desperate poverty, a trail of unpaid bills and borrowed money. Eleanor had taken back her maiden name after the divorce, apparently using her middle name, Sarah, as her first name now. She'd never asked him for money, never tried to contact him despite having every legal right to child support. She'd simply disappeared, taking their daughter with her and building a new life from the ashes of their old one. And now their little girl was here, trying to save the mother he'd failed to love enough to stay for. Michael's phone buzzed. A text from his private investigator, someone he'd used for sensitive business deals. Per your urgent request, Elena Sarah Rivers admitted to Nashville General 3 hours ago. Critical condition, doctors say days, maybe hours. The world stopped spinning. Madison was here auditioning while her mother lay dying 3 miles away. Elena was dying, and she probably had no idea their daughter was standing on his stage, singing their song, trying to save her life. When Michael returned to the judging panel, his face was composed, but his eyes held a new intensity that Jessica and Robert couldn't quite read. "Madison," he said carefully, his voice controlled, "tell me about your mother." Madison's face lit up like sunrise, all worry forgotten. "She's the best mama in the whole world. She taught me guitar when my fingers were so small I could barely hold the neck. She sings even when she's really sick, when the medicine makes her feel awful. She used to be a singer too before I was born. She had dreams just like mine." "What's her name?" Michael asked, though he already knew the answer would destroy him. "Sarah Rivers. But she told me her stage name used to be Elena Sterling, back when she performed in the big venues." Jessica and Robert didn't catch the significance, but Madison noticed how Judge Sterling's face went completely white, like he'd seen a ghost. "Elena Sterling," he repeated slowly, testing the name on his tongue after years of trying to forget it. "Did you know her?" Madison asked hopefully, bouncing slightly on her toes. "She said she used to sing in Nashville, in the fancy places with real stages and everything." Michael's throat closed completely. Elena had been pregnant when he left, just starting to show. He'd been so focused on his expanding business empire that he'd missed the beauty of what they were creating together. "I knew her," he managed, each word feeling like glass. She was very talented." Madison beamed with pride. "I want to be just like her when I grow up. Strong and brave and kind. She never complains, even when I know she's hurting real bad." Michael felt his heart shatter completely, each piece cutting deeper than the last. Their daughter idolized the woman he'd abandoned, and Elena had clearly raised her to be everything good in the world. The audition resumed, but the energy had shifted dramatically. Madison could sense something different about Judge Sterling, the way he looked at her with an intensity that seemed to see straight through her, the careful way he chose his words. "Madison," Jessica said, glancing uncertainly at her fellow judges, "we've made our decision." Madison held her breath, her small hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Everything hinged on this moment. Her mother's life, their future, her dreams of becoming someone who could fix everything. "It's a yes from me," Jessica announced with a warm smile. "You have a gift that can't be taught, and a heart that makes it shine." "Yes from me as well," Robert added enthusiastically. "You sing with your whole heart, and that's something this world needs more of." All eyes turned to Michael, the deciding vote, the final judgment, the man who unknowingly held his daughter's future in his trembling hands. Madison looked at him with such hope, such trust, such pure faith in the goodness of the world, that Michael felt the weight of 7 years of mistakes crushing down on him like an avalanche. "Madison," he said slowly, each word carefully measured, "I need to ask you something. If you could have anything in the world, anything at all, what would it be?" Without hesitation, without even needing to think, Madison replied, "For my mama to get better. That's all I've ever wanted, all I pray for every night. I don't need toys or clothes or anything else, just her." Michael nodded, tears threatening to spill despite his efforts to maintain composure. "And you believe music can heal anything?" "Yes, sir. Mama always said so, and I've seen it work. When she's really sick and hurting, I sing to her, and for just a little while she smiles like she used to. Michael stood up, his decision crystallizing with the force of an earthquake. Then it's yes from me too. You're going to the next round, Madison Rivers. Madison screamed with pure joy, jumping up and down, her guitar case forgotten as she celebrated. I have to call Mama. She's going to be so proud. Wait until I tell her Judge Sterling said yes. But as the production team swarmed around Madison with paperwork and congratulations, Michael pulled the show producer aside with urgent intensity. I need you to do something for me immediately, he said, his voice brooking no argument. Find out what hospital Elena Rivers is in. Arrange for the best oncologist in Nashville, hell in the country, to see her immediately. Money is no object, whatever it takes. Sir, I don't understand. Why would you— Just do it, Michael commanded, his executive persona taking over. And make sure Madison doesn't know it came from me. Not yet. As Madison was led away to sign paperwork and meet with producers, she turned back and waved at the judges with unbridled joy. Thank you, Judge Sterling, she called out, her voice ringing with gratitude. You won't regret this. I'm gonna make you proud. Michael watched his daughter disappear through the doors, carrying their shared song and Elena's strength in her small, determined frame. She was right. He wouldn't regret this. But he might not survive the revelation that was coming. For the first time in 7 years, Michael Sterling allowed himself to hope and to plan. Because he had a family to save, and this time he wasn't going to walk away. Within an hour of Madison's audition, the best oncology team in Nashville was rushing to Sarah's bedside at Nashville General Hospital. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, one of the country's leading cancer specialists, had been flown in from Johns Hopkins on a private jet that cost more per hour than most people made in a year. I don't understand, Sarah whispered weakly to the nurse. I can't afford this. There must be some mistake. No mistake, ma'am, the nurse replied kindly. An anonymous benefactor has covered all your expenses. Full treatment, surgery, everything. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She was too weak to question miracles, too sick to investigate good fortune. All she could think about was Madison, probably riding the bus home from her audition, carrying the weight of the world on her 7-year-old shoulders. Meanwhile, Michael Sterling sat in his car outside the hospital, watching through tinted windows as medical staff rushed between buildings. His hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles were white. Elena was somewhere in there, fighting for her life, and their daughter had no idea her father was finally trying to make things right. His phone rang. His assistant's voice was efficient, but concerned. Sir, the medical team is in place. Dr. Chen says the patient is very sick, but there's hope if they operate immediately. Whatever it takes, Michael repeated, his voice hoarse. I don't care what it costs. Sir, may I ask why you're doing this? I've never seen you this invested in a charity case. Michael closed his eyes, seeing Madison's face, hearing her voice singing their song, because some debts can never be repaid, but you have to try anyway. At home in their tiny apartment, Madison burst through the door with more energy than she'd had in months. Mrs. Chen, Mrs. Chen, she called to their neighbor, who was waiting anxiously in their living room. How did it go, little songbird? I made it, Madison announced, spinning around with pure joy. All 3 judges said yes, I'm going to the next round. Mrs. Chen hugged her tightly, feeling the small girl's heart racing with excitement. I knew you would. Your voice is magic. Where's Mama? I want to tell her. Madison looked around the empty apartment, confusion replacing her excitement. Mrs. Chen's face grew serious. Madison, honey, your Mama got very sick this afternoon. She's at the hospital, but the doctors are taking very good care of her. Madison's world tilted. Is she going to be okay? The doctors say she has the best treatment money can buy. Someone very kind is helping her. Madison sank onto the couch, guitar still strapped to her back. I should be with her. She's probably scared. The doctor said she needs to rest and get strong for her surgery tomorrow. But Madison, she would want you to keep singing. This is what you've been working for. That night, Madison lay awake, staring at the ceiling, torn between excitement about the competition and terror about her mother. She whispered prayers to every saint she could remember, bargaining with God the way only desperate children can. Please, let Mama be okay. I'll give up the competition. I'll do anything. Just don't take her away from me. But even as she prayed, Madison knew she had to keep going. The competition was their only hope for a real future, their only chance to escape the poverty that had defined her entire life. 3 miles away, Michael Sterling stood at his penthouse window, looking toward the hospital where Eleanor fought for her life. For the first time in 7 years, he allowed himself to remember the good times, Eleanor laughing at his terrible jokes, singing while she cooked, the way her eyes lit up when she told him they were going to have a baby. He'd thrown it all away for business deals that now seemed meaningless, money that couldn't buy back time, success that felt hollow without family to share it. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the Nashville skyline. "I'm so damn sorry." The next morning brought news that changed everything. Sarah's surgery had been successful, but she remained in critical condition. The anonymous benefactor had arranged for her to have a private room, round-the-clock nursing care, and access to experimental treatments that weren't available to regular patients. Madison sat beside her mother's bed, holding her pale hand and trying not to stare at all the machines keeping her alive. Sarah looked so small in the hospital bed, like she might disappear entirely if Madison looked away. "The nurses say someone special is paying for all this," Madison whispered. "An angel, they called him." "Do you think it's real angels, Mama, or just someone really good?" Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand weakly. "Sometimes," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "angels look like regular people. They do good things without wanting credit. I wish I could thank them. I wish I could sing for them. Maybe someday you will, baby girl. Maybe that's why you have your gift, to bring light to people who need it." Later that afternoon, Madison had to leave for the next round of competition. The show's producers had offered to postpone her performance, but Madison refused. "Mama needs this medicine," she told them firmly, "and I made a promise to her that I'm gonna win." Indeed, the second audition was held in a smaller venue, with only 50 contestants remaining. Madison felt the absence of her mother like a physical ache, but she channeled that pain into her performance. This time she sang "Amazing Grace," her voice soaring through the auditorium with a power that seemed impossible from someone so small. The judges were visibly moved, and Michael Sterling found himself fighting back tears as he watched his daughter pour her heart out on stage. "Madison," Jessica said after the performance, "where does that emotion come from? You sing like you've lived 100 lifetimes." "I sing for my mama," Madison replied simply, "and for everyone who's ever been scared or alone. Music is supposed to help people feel better." When the results were announced, Madison had made it to the final 10. She was the youngest contestant ever to reach that level, and suddenly the media attention was overwhelming. "How does it feel to be so young and so talented?" a reporter asked. "It feels like responsibility," Madison answered with startling maturity. "God gave me this voice for a reason, and I think it's to help people." Michael watched the interview from his office, marveling at the wisdom in his daughter's words. Elena had raised an extraordinary child, kind, talented, and wise beyond her years. That evening, Michael made a decision that terrified him. He called his private investigator. "I need you to arrange a meeting," he said. "I want to see Elena Rivers, tonight." "Sir, she's in intensive care. Visiting hours are restricted to family only." Then find a way. I don't care what it takes. 2 hours later, Michael Sterling stood outside Elena's hospital room, wearing scrubs and a visitor's badge that identified him as a consulting physician. His hand shook as he reached for the door handle. Elena lay unconscious, connected to machines that beeped steadily in the quiet room. She looked older than her 32 years, worn down by illness and struggle, but she was still beautiful. Still the woman he'd fallen in love with all those years ago. "Hello, Elena," he whispered, pulling a chair beside her bed. "It's me. It's Michael." Her eyes fluttered open, focusing slowly on his face. For a moment she looked confused, like she might be hallucinating. "Michael," she breathed. "What are you? How did you—" "I saw her," he said simply. "I saw Madison. She auditioned for the show." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "She made it, didn't she? I could see it in her face when she visited earlier. She's incredible, Elena. She's talented and kind and brave, just like her mother." "Why are you here?" Elena asked, her voice stronger now. "After all these years, why now?" Michael took her hand gently. "Because I've been a fool. Because I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I want to try to make things right. It's too late for us, Michael. Too much has happened. Maybe, but it's not too late for Madison. She's my daughter too, and I want to be the father she deserves." Eleanor studied his face, searching for sincerity. "She doesn't know about you. I never told her who her father was." "I know, and I understand why. But Elena, I want to help. I want to be there for both of you." "She's competing for us," Elena whispered. "She thinks winning that show is the only way to save me." Michael's heart broke all over again. "She shouldn't have to carry that burden alone. She's just a little girl. She's stronger than you know, stronger than both of us." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 7 lost years hanging between them. "I'm the anonymous benefactor," Michael finally admitted. "The medical bills, the specialists, all of it. I couldn't let you die, Eleanor, not when I'd already lost so much time." Elena closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered, "for saving my life, for giving me more time with her. It's the least I could do. But Elena, I want to do more. I want to tell her the truth." Elena's eyes snapped open. "No, not yet. Let her finish the competition first. Let her have this moment. There will be time for truth later." Michael nodded, understanding but not liking it. "When you're ready, then. When you think she's ready." "Promise me something," Eleanor said urgently. "Promise me that if something happens to me, you'll take care of her. Not just financially, but really take care of her. Love her the way she deserves." "I promise," Michael said, meaning it with every fiber of his being. "I won't fail her again." 2 weeks passed, in a blur of rehearsals, interviews, and mounting pressure. Madison had advanced to the final 3 contestants, and the entire country was talking about the little girl with the big voice and the bigger heart. Sarah was recovering slowly but steadily, thanks to the mysterious benefactor's continued support. She was strong enough now to attend Madison's final performances, though she still tired easily and needed help getting around. "I can't believe how far you've come," Sarah told Madison as they sat in the hotel room provided by the show. "From singing on street corners to the biggest stage in America." "It doesn't feel real," Madison admitted. "Sometimes I think I'm going to wake up and we'll still be in our old apartment with bills piling up and no way to pay them." "It's real, baby girl. You made it real with your talent and your heart." The other 2 finalists were adults with years of professional experience, but Madison had something they didn't, a story that resonated with millions of people and a voice that seemed touched by something divine. In his judge's chair, Michael watched his daughter prepare for the biggest moment of her young life. The final performance would determine the winner, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Not just for the $1 million prize, but for the validation of everything Madison had worked for. The theme for the finale was Songs That Changed Your Life, and Madison had chosen, unsurprisingly, You Are My Sunshine. "It's the song that saved me," she explained to the cameras during her pre-performance interview. "When my mama was sick and I was scared, I would sing this song and remember that there's always light, even in the darkest times." Michael felt his throat close as he watched the interview. She was going to sing their song, the lullaby he'd sung to her as a baby, the melody that had brought them back together. That evening, as Madison prepared for her final performance, she received an unexpected visitor. Michael Sterling knocked on her dressing room door, his heart pounding. "Judge Sterling!" Madison exclaimed, surprised and delighted. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to wish you luck," he said, kneeling down to her level, "and to tell you something important." "What is it?" Michael looked into his daughter's eyes, Elena's eyes, and felt the weight of unspoken truth pressing down on him. But he remembered his promise to Elena. Not yet, not until she was ready. "I wanted to tell you that I've never heard anyone sing with as much heart as you do," he said instead. "Whatever happens tonight, you've already won something more important than any prize." "What's that?" "You've reminded everyone what music is really about. Love, hope, and healing. That's a gift not many people have." Madison hugged him impulsively, and Michael felt his world shift. This was his daughter, this brave, beautiful little girl who had found her way back to him through song. "Thank you, Judge Sterling. You've been so nice to me. Nicer than any of the other judges." "Maybe because I see something special in you," Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. "Something that reminds me of someone I used to know." "Who?" Michael smiled sadly. "Someone I should have held on to when I had the chance." As Madison took the stage for her final performance, 3,000 people in the audience and millions watching at home held their breath. She looked so small under the bright lights, but when she opened her mouth to sing, her presence filled the entire auditorium. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine, my..." And in the front row, Sarah Rivers cried openly, overwhelmed by pride and love. In the judges' seats, Michael Sterling gripped his chair, watching his daughter sing their song with everything she had. "You make me happy when skies are grey." The audience was completely silent, hanging on every note. This wasn't just a performance. It was a prayer, a plea, a declaration of love that transcended words. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Michael found himself mouthing the words along with her, remembering all the times he'd sung this song in a different time, to a different audience of one. "Please don't take my sunshine away." When the final note faded, the silence lasted for 3 heartbeats before the auditorium exploded in the loudest applause of the season. The audience was on its feet, crying, cheering, completely overwhelmed by what they had witnessed. Madison curtsied politely, her eyes finding her mother in the front row. Sarah was sobbing with pride, and Madison felt a sense of completion wash over her. Whatever happened next, she had given everything she had. In the judges' seats, Michael Sterling stood and applauded with the rest, tears streaming down his face without shame. His daughter had just delivered the performance of a lifetime, and she had no idea her father was watching. "That," he said into his microphone when the applause finally died down, "was the most beautiful thing I have ever heard in my life." Madison beamed at him, and Michael felt his heart break and heal simultaneously. Soon, very soon, he would have to tell her the truth, but for now he was just a judge, and she was just a contestant, and the moment was perfect in its painful beauty. The votes were tallied, the results sealed, but before the winner could be announced, something unprecedented happened. Michael Sterling stood up from the judges' table and asked for the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice carrying across the silent auditorium, "before we announce our winner tonight, I need to share something with all of you, something I should have shared a long time ago." The audience murmured with confusion. The other judges looked surprised. Madison stood center stage, confused but trusting. 7 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life, Michael continued, his voice growing stronger. I was young, ambitious, and stupid. I had a beautiful wife and a baby daughter, but I thought my career was more important than my family. The cameras zoomed in on his face, capturing every emotion as he spoke. I walked away from them. I convinced myself they were better off without me. I was wrong about everything. Sarah Rivers felt her heart stop. In the front row, she stared at Michael Sterling with growing recognition and disbelief. Madison Rivers, Michael said, looking directly at his daughter, you are the most talented, brave, and beautiful person I have ever met. You're also my daughter. The auditorium erupted in gasps and confused murmurs. Madison stood frozen, her mind struggling to process what she'd just heard. I'm sorry, honey. I know this is confusing and scary. But I'm your daddy, and I've been looking for you and your mama for 7 years. Madison's eyes filled with tears. She looked toward her mother, who was crying openly now, nodding to confirm that it was true. My daddy? Madison whispered into her microphone. You're really my daddy. Michael stepped down from the judge's table and walked toward the stage, his heart breaking with every step. Yes, sweetheart, and I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but I'm hoping maybe we can get to know each other. But you said yes to me in the audition, did you know then? I suspected when I heard you sing. The song you chose. I used to sing that to you when you were a baby. Every night I would hold you and sing, You Are My Sunshine, until you fell asleep. Madison began to cry, overwhelmed by emotion she didn't understand. Why did you leave us? The question hung in the air like a blade. Michael climbed onto the stage and knelt in front of his daughter, not caring that millions of people were watching. Because I was scared and selfish, he said honestly. I thought being a daddy would stop me from achieving my dreams. I didn't understand that you and your mama were the only dreams that really mattered. Mama got really sick, Madison said through her tears. And we didn't have money for doctors. I had to sing on the streets to try to help her. Michael's heart shattered completely. I know, baby girl, and I'm so sorry I wasn't there to help you. But I'm here now, and I'm never leaving again. Madison looked at him with her mother's eyes, searching his face for truth. Do you promise? I promise. And Madison, I need you to know something else. The anonymous person who paid for your mama's medical treatment? That was me. The moment I realized who you were, I made sure she got the best care possible. Sarah had made her way onto the stage, supported by a show assistant. She looked at Michael with a mixture of anger, gratitude, and old love. Elena, Michael said softly, using her real name for the first time in years. I'm sorry for everything. I know, she replied simply. I can see it in your eyes. Madison looked between her parents, this father she'd never known, and the mother who had been her whole world. Are we going to be a family now? Michael and Sarah exchanged a look over their daughter's head. 7 years of hurt and anger couldn't be erased in a moment, but love, real love, never truly dies. We're going to try, Sarah said gently. It won't be easy and it won't happen overnight, but yes, we're going to try. The audience had been completely silent during this family reunion, but now they began to applaud softly, moved by the raw emotion they had witnessed. I believe, said the show's host, stepping forward with tears in his eyes, that we've already found our winner tonight. Madison Rivers, you came here to save your mother's life, and instead you've reunited a family and reminded all of us what really matters. Madison was officially declared the winner, but the $1 million prize seemed almost insignificant compared to what she had really won. She had her mother's health, her father's love, and a family that was finally complete. As confetti fell from the ceiling and the audience cheered, Michael Sterling held his daughter for the first time in 7 years. She was bigger now, stronger, more independent than the baby he remembered. But when she wrapped her small arms around his neck and whispered, "I love you, Daddy," he knew that some things never change. Love finds a way. Music heals all wounds. And sometimes the greatest prize isn't money or fame, it's coming home. The days following the finale were a whirlwind of media attention, recording contract offers and family meetings that felt both natural and awkward. Michael had arranged for the best suite in Nashville's finest hotel, where the three of them could begin the delicate process of becoming a family again. Madison adapted with the resilience that only children possess, but she was still cautious around Michael. 7 years of his absence couldn't be erased by one dramatic revelation, no matter how sincere his apologies. "Daddy," she said one morning over room service breakfast, testing the word on her tongue, "why didn't you try to find us before?" Michael set down his coffee cup, meeting his daughter's direct gaze. Sarah had taught her to ask hard questions, and he owed her honest answers. "Because I was a coward," he said simply. "I told myself you were better off without me, but the truth is, I was afraid I wouldn't be a good enough father. I was afraid of failing you." "But you did fail us," Madison said with 7-year-old bluntness. "Mama cried sometimes when she thought I was sleeping, and we were really poor." "You're absolutely right," Michael replied, his throat tight. "I did fail you, and I can never take that back. All I can do is try to be better from now on." Madison considered this seriously. "Mama says people deserve second chances if they really, truly change. Do you think you've really changed?" Michael looked at this wise little girl who had inherited Elena's directness and his own stubborn determination. "I hope so. But you'll have to decide that for yourself." Sarah watched these interactions with mixed emotions. She was grateful for Michael's honesty with Madison, but 7 years of single parenthood had made her fiercely protective. "We need to talk about practicalities," she said during one of their evening conversations after Madison had gone to bed. "School, living arrangements, custody. I want you both to move into my house," Michael said immediately. "It's big enough for everyone to have their own space, and Madison could have a real music room." Sarah shook her head. "We can't just pick up where we left off, Michael. Too much has happened. Madison and I need our own place. Then I'll buy you a house nearby. Whatever you want." "I don't want your money," Sarah said firmly. "Madison won $1 million. We can take care of ourselves." Michael ran his hands through his hair in frustration. "Eleanor, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to make up for lost time." "You can't buy back 7 years," she replied softly, "and you can't fix everything with money. Trust has to be earned. Then tell me how. Tell me what I need to do." Sarah studied his face, seeing genuine desperation there. "Start small. Be consistent. Show up when you say you will. Keep your promises, and understand that this is going to take time." The next week they established a routine. Michael would pick up Madison from school 3 days a week, help with homework, and take her to vocal lessons. Weekends were family time, sometimes all three of them together, sometimes just Michael and Madison. "This is weird, but good weird," Madison confided to Mrs. Chen during one of their visits to the old neighborhood. "It's like having a daddy for the first time, even though he was always my daddy." "How do you feel about that little songbird?" Madison thought carefully. "Happy and sad and confused all at the same time. Happy because he's really nice and he loves music like I do. Sad because we missed so much time. And confused because I don't know how to be someone's daughter when I've just been Mama's whole family for so long." Mrs. Chen nodded wisely. "Growing families is like growing gardens. It takes time, patience, and lots of care. But the beautiful things that grow are worth the wait." Meanwhile, Michael was learning that being a father was nothing like running a business empire. Madison didn't respond to commands or logical arguments. She needed patience, consistency, and emotional availability, things that didn't come naturally to him. I don't know what I'm doing, he confessed to Sarah one evening. When she cries, I want to fix it immediately, but sometimes she just needs to cry. When she's angry, I want to give her things to make her happy, but you tell me that's not how emotions work. Sarah smiled, the first truly warm smile she'd given him since his return. Welcome to parenthood. The fact that you're trying so hard means you're already better than you think. She's incredible, Eleanor. You raised an amazing daughter. We made an amazing daughter, Sarah corrected gently. She has your determination and your musical sense. She gets that stubborn streak from both of us. I want to be the father she deserves. And then just love her. Everything else we can figure out together. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later, during one of Michael's regular visits. Madison was struggling with a particularly difficult song, getting frustrated when she couldn't hit the high notes correctly. It's stupid, she declared, throwing her guitar pick across the room. I can't do it. Instead of trying to fix the problem or offer solutions, Michael sat down beside her on the piano bench. You know what? He said. Sometimes music is frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't sound the way we want it to, no matter how hard we try. Did that happen to you when you were little? All the time. I once got so mad at a piano piece that I slammed the keys and my teacher made me sit in the corner. Madison giggled despite her frustration. Really? Really? And you know what my teacher told me? What? She said that music isn't about being perfect. It's about feeling something and sharing that feeling with other people. The notes matter, but the heart matters more. Madison leaned against his shoulder, a gesture of trust that meant everything to Michael. Will you sing with me, Daddy? Like you used to when I was little? Michael's throat closed with emotion. I would love to, sweetheart. Together they sang, You Are My Sunshine, their voices blending in harmony that seemed to heal years of separation. Sarah watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face as her family finally began to sound like one. In that moment, Michael understood what he had lost 7 years ago and what he was lucky enough to find again. Not just a daughter, but a purpose. Not just success, but significance. Music had brought them back together, but love would keep them that way. 6 months after the finale, Madison Rivers Sterling stood on the steps of Nashville Children's Hospital, holding a brand new guitar and wearing the biggest smile anyone had ever seen. Behind her stood her parents, together but taking things slow, and a crowd of reporters witnessing something extraordinary. Today we're starting the Sunshine Foundation, Madison announced to the cameras with newfound confidence. Every sick kid in this hospital gets free music lessons, and their families won't pay a penny. The $1 million prize money, combined with Michael's contributions, had made this dream possible. But for Madison, it was about more than money. It was about using her gift to heal others the way music had healed her family. Music saved my mama's life and brought my daddy home. Now it's going to help other families too. Sarah stood beside her daughter, healthy and radiant after months of successful treatment. The cancer was in remission, and her hair was growing back in soft curls. She squeezed Michael's hand, not romantically, but as partners raising their extraordinary daughter. Are you proud of her? A reporter asked Michael. Proud doesn't begin to cover it, he replied, voice thick with emotion. She's taught me what it means to use success for something bigger than yourself. That evening, the Sterling Rivers family gathered in the music room of their new house. Not Michael's mansion or their old apartment, but something in between, a place to build new memories while honoring their complicated past. Play the song, Daddy, Madison requested, settling onto the piano bench beside him. Michael's fingers found the familiar chords, and together they began, You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine. Sarah joined from her chair, her voice blending with theirs in perfect harmony. This time, the song carried new meaning, not just about love or loss, but about second chances and forgiveness. You make me happy when skies are grey. As they sang, Madison thought about the children she'd met at the hospital. Kids fighting bigger battles than hers, finding hope in music lessons and singing through pain. Tomorrow, she'd return to teach them, because that's what her gift was really for. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Michael looked at his daughter and saw not just the baby he'd abandoned, but the remarkable young woman she was becoming. She had transformed their family's worst tragedy into something beautiful. Please don't take my sunshine away. When the song ended, they sat in comfortable silence, each lost in thought. Daddy, Madison said quietly, do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't left us? Michael considered carefully. Sometimes. But maybe everything happened the way it was supposed to. Maybe you needed to be strong first, so you could help other people later. And maybe you needed to learn what really mattered, Sarah added gently. What about you, Mama? Do you forgive him? Sarah looked at Michael, seeing not the man who broke her heart, but the father who'd found his way home. Forgiveness isn't something that happens all at once, she said. It's something you choose every day. And yes, I choose to forgive him. Not because what he did was okay, but because holding anger was hurting all of us. I don't deserve either of you, Michael whispered. No, you don't, Madison said with startling directness. But that's not how love works. Love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing to see the good in people and helping them become better. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best mama in the world, and now from a daddy who's trying really hard to make up for lost time. Later that night, after Madison had gone to bed, Michael and Sarah sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies dance. I have something to ask you, Michael said nervously. Would you consider dating me like teenagers? Taking it slow and seeing if we can fall in love again? Sarah smiled genuinely for the first time since his return. I'd like that. But no expensive gifts, no trying to impress me with money. Just be yourself. The real me is probably more boring than you remember. Good. Boring sounds perfect right now. Inside, Madison lay in her new bedroom, surrounded by awards and flowers from fans worldwide. But she treasured most the framed photo on her nightstand, her parents at the hospital, beaming with pride as she announced her foundation. She called Mrs. Chen. How did it go today, little songbird? Perfect. We helped 20 kids today, and tomorrow 20 more. And Mrs. Chen, my parents are going to try dating again. Ah, love finding its way back. It's not young love, it's old love getting a second chance. And I think second chances might be even better, because now they know how precious it is. What are you teaching them? Madison thought carefully. That music really can heal anything if you let it, and that families are about choosing to love each other every day, even when it's hard. As Madison drifted off to sleep, she could hear her parents talking softly below, their voices mixing with Nashville's summer sounds. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to use her gift for good. But tonight, for the first time in her 7 years, Madison Rivers Sterling fell asleep, knowing her sunshine was safe. Her mother was healthy, her father was home, and their family was finally complete. The song that brought them together would play in their hearts forever, a melody of love, loss, forgiveness, and the truth that broken things can be made stronger when pieced back together with hope. Madison had been right all along. Music really could heal anything. And sometimes the greatest performances happen not on stage, but in quiet moments when a family chooses love over hurt, forgiveness over anger, and hope over fear. The end.